We're good.
Seriously, though, I mean, the crazy part is I remember in 1986, my buddy was prank calling me on the phone, and I had the cordless phone that would come from the kitchen around the corner into the living room, that long cord, right? And he kept calling me and calling me. I'm like, all right, I'm going to get him this time. The next time he calls me, I'm just going to scream as loud as I can. The phone rings, right? I run over there. I answer. I'm like, I got him. This is it. I'm like, what do you want? Like, I just screamed it, little 10-year-old kid or whatever it was. I think it was 1990. And all of a sudden, I hear on the other end of the line go, is your mom Maureen there? It's some poor little old lady that had a bad time. Dude, it was like worst timing. Like, where's the caller ID back then? Where's your cell phone saying, hey,
Oh my God.
Those were the days, man. Those were the days. Like, my mom would kick me outside for the whole day and just go in the woods. Don't come back till dinner, because I drive her crazy. And she just kicked me out into the woods. You know what I'm saying, Johnny? Like,
that is what I do with my kids today.
Is it?
I just throw them out in the woods and I pick them up at nighttime.
Go play.
We send them outside.
I'm so scared, though. I'm scared about that today because it's like you don't know what's going on with society.
No, that's exactly what I did too. I mean, we would play in the woods and down at the river all day till dark time, and like now, all these alerts come on my phone of a weird van at the park. It's like you can't trust people, and it's pretty sad.
Yeah, it's nuts. I don't know. It's a scary world out there right now with everything that's going on. So I don't know. It's like you don't even know who your neighbors are half the time. When I was living in Las Vegas, I didn't even know who my neighbors were. I knew the guy next door, but that was pretty much about it. But everyone keeps to themselves these days.
Yeah. I know who you are. I know who you are.
Oh, I know. But I'm excited about tonight. The reason I'm excited about tonight is not a lot of people know this, but I grew up from 8 years old to about 13. I was a super competitive swimmer with my sister. My sister Diana and we grew up in New England, and every day we would go to swim. So it would be swimming before school at 5 a.m., go to school, after school, swimming again. And it was so competitive. And then my sister was just really, really amazing swimmer. She went on to get she went to Georgetown Academy, and then after that, full scholarship to U of A, and went on to be a super swimmer, athlete. So I'm excited because she passed on some information of somebody I met way back in the day when she was in college, and her name is Trina Jackson Falca, and I am so excited to have her on. Here she is.
Hey, what's up?
Welcome, Trina.
Thank you.
And she is the fastest female swimmer in the world. I'm going to just say that because I think so.
I mean, not necessarily today, but
forever. We're saying
time
forever.
Ago. Yeah, some time ago.
Yeah, so back in 1996, right, during the Olympics in Atlanta, Georgia, you won gold medal as member of the first place U.S. team in the women's 4x200 meter freestyle relay, right?
Yes.
Tell us about that. How was that experience? Just getting to that moment. I mean, you must have just been like super pumped up, ready for action. I know how it is standing on that block and you're ready to take off when that gun fires off. How was it? Just tell us about that experience.
Well, luckily my coach at the time recommended, because I wasn't swimming the first night, to go and stand on the pool deck because it's what they call a closed deck. No one's allowed on the pool deck except for swimmers and officials. So the people that tell you if you did something wrong, and then the athletes. So he asked that I go down on the pool deck the night before I swam because there's 18,000 people in the stand screaming at you. And I was kind of glad he told me because I think I peed a little because it's so loud and everyone's screaming for you and you don't know any of these people and they're chanting your name. And so it was nice to kind of get a little feel of what I was up against because when I really had to do it, I was in a bathing suit. So it's a little different. So, but I didn't go to college my first year, actually. I stayed home because at that level, I didn't feel like going to college would have been the best fit because I did like to party and I did like to let loose. And my coach just recommended that maybe I stay home and do some community college classes. So I actually stayed home that first year of 96. And then the trials were in March. And I just did English and math to get those out of the way so that when I did go to U of A, I was ready to just move in a little bit to freshman year.
Yeah.
Yeah. What age did you start swimming?
So I was in my first meet when I was 3.
Wow.
And I did one, I know, ridiculous. Because now, I mean, my kids swim now, and getting anything done by a 3-year-old is like, as you know, so I actually swam for a lollipop. My mom stood at the other end of the pool. And of course, Candy was the number one favorite. So I was in my first meet at 3. And then by the time I was 10, I was doing double practices. So I was swimming at 5 o'clock in the morning, 4:45 to be exact, and then again at night.
Wow.
And then the rest is history. I mean, I have great memories. I didn't miss out on anything. I still had a social life. It was just a little different, but yeah. So
I always
Three.
loved swimming. Was amazing. Like, especially when I was from 8 to 13. I don't know, when I got about 10 years old, it's so much fun.
yeah.
Like, I was traveling on the buses. It was kind of like you're a family, you're a unit. You travel together, you roll together. You know, it's like the G Crew right now, right here on this podcast.
Yeah.
It was something amazing back then, because I don't think, I didn't know how incredible it was as building up fitness and stuff like that. Swimming is by far one of the best things to do for injuries or anything, as far as trying to build muscle mass and whatnot. So it's a great tool for people working out and whatever. If you're interested, get into swimming. That's a great way to start. But I didn't know you swam with Jenny Thompson, right?
Yes.
On the team?
Well, she went to Stanford, and she's a little older than me, but we were on the same relay. So we kind of competed against each other, but she did different events than me. Like the 200 freestyle was the closest thing that we swam against each other. She did more sprinting, and I wasn't very fast. I couldn't get off the blocks and go that fast. I needed more time.
Yeah.
So I did more middle distance and distance races.
Now you 4 set a new Olympic record, right? In the event. Is that what you set the record in? It was, what is it? 7:59.87, I think, was the exact time that for that 1996 Summer Olympics when you won the gold medal. That's amazing. That's fast. It's really fast.
Yeah. So, it's obviously faster now, but at the time, I mean, everybody pretty much went, their best times in order to make that happen. So that's pretty cool. And, with a relay, it can be hard because you're relying on other people, and swimming is somewhat of a individual sport, but then all of a sudden you're on this relay and you're not an individual anymore. Like, I went first, so if I screwed up and false started, I screwed up the whole relay. So there was a lot of pressure to do that. And then everybody who dives in, the person who's in the water has to touch before your feet leave the block. So there's actually touch pads on the blocks and in the water so that they can calculate.
Wow.
So it's technical.
Yeah, it's very.
No
I mean, they're probably watching every single inch.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what was it like to swim against? You were really young when you were involved in all of that. What was it like swimming against older girls or swimming against just kids that were older than you? I mean, it must have been like, wow, I'm here. I'm against these competitive swimmers who've been doing this, and you're beating them out. Like, that's pretty amazing.
Once you get to that level, most of the athletes you're racing, you've already seen before, know their races or heard of them before. I mean, the hardest part is just people being from other countries and things being different in other countries. Luckily, the Olympics was in the United States, but I mean, I traveled to Japan, to Hong Kong, Australia. It's just weird being in other countries, but I was 19. So the youngest, we had 3 12-year-olds on our Olympic team, which is insane. And so I was actually like an old lady compared to some of the other ones. But, most of the older swimmers kind of take the younger swimmers under their wing. And if anyone hasn't been to the Olympics before or been in a big swim meet like that, it's kind of difficult to swim against older older people. I hate saying that word, older, because now I'm older. I think my kids think I belong in a wheelchair, but point being, everyone knows that if you get to that point, you belong there, and then you're just there to get your hand on the wall first. You know, it's not really a name game or an age game at that point. I mean, I had to swim next to the world record holder in the relay, so that was weirder than her being older than me.
Yeah. What was your fastest? Did you like freestyle, backstroke, breaststroke, butterfly? What did you love?
My thing was freestyle. And then the only reason I did do 2 individual events. Unfortunately, for 4th place and 8th place, you get nothing. There's no medal for that. But I did make the 200 butterfly. And the only reason I was good at butterfly is because in high school, our coach made every Friday butterfly day. So the entire workout from start to finish was butterfly.
Wow.
Wow, you must have been, you're like ripped. Like doing butterfly consecutively like that is insane.
Yeah, it's not a pretty thing at the end of the time. Trying to, get through it. But yeah, that's the only reason I probably even made the butterfly is because of that.
It's amazing.
Thanks,
though. Like
Coach Troy.
But you think of all these like different. I mean, I hear all these stories all the time about people that are training for the Olympics and all of that. Like, what is that like? Like being in it and training that hard for so long. What is that like mentally, physically?
It takes a lot out of you. You know, again, for the sport, you do use a whole lot of muscles, so you have to work every muscle group outside of the pool as well as in the pool. But I will say that one of the best things that I found to be beneficial for that sport of swimming was all core work, because once you get tired, if you lose your core, you just end up sinking. You know, you just kind of have to keep it together.
See, Johnny, we gotta get in swimming, buddy. Get that core going.
I'm all about swimming, but the idea that you had about swimming across the lake, I will be waiting on the sand with the beer, keeping it cold for when you guys arrive on the other side.
That's how I am now.
So I have this crazy idea. We created this challenges that we do with the Lost Limbs Foundation, a guy named Mike Couch, and it started because he called me up and he's like, I need to push myself mentally and physically. He's like, I want to climb a mountain. I was like, all right, let's climb Mount Washington. So he did that on one leg, and it was an adventure. Let me just put it that way. And then I'm like, all right, cool. What's our second challenge we're going to do? Let's keep this going. We raised a ton of money. All the money went to children in need of amputee prosthetics and stuff like that. So it was cool. I was excited about it. And I'm like, let's run the Spartan Beasts. 14 miles, 30 obstacles. Mike, we can do this, because I carried him up a mile up the mountain, and I'm like, let's call Johnny Hauser. So Johnny got on board, and Johnny, take it from here. It was an amazing experience.
My perception of it might be a little bit different than yours, Nick. So we show up, and we're all pumped up. We're ready to go, and it's 40 degrees and raining.
38, 40.
Oh, that's amazing.
Pouring rain the entire time. I didn't get a whole lot of sleep the night before, and your sister, I was talking to her, Nick, and it's like, man, I don't know. Like, this is a long race and a lot of obstacles. And she looks at me and she's like, you are not going to give up. You do not sign up for something and just quit. You're going to, like, afterwards she was done with me, it's like, oh, man, I got to push myself till I'm done. And I learned a lot about hydration that day.
It was crazy because we got about 6 miles in, and Johnny's legs started locking up. Pretty much they were spasming out, so he couldn't even walk. His legs were just locking to the point where you can't move. So I got him. I think you split off from me because I had to finish the race. So Johnny took off.
You didn't carry him too?
Well, I was going to, but there was just no way. I mean, the medic came, took you away with our cameraman Jeff, and Spartan said this was by far the craziest, most challenging race ever in the history, just because of the temperature and everything like that. And I'm starting to shake. I had my shirt off the whole way. It was probably better off that way because all the water and stuff carrying you down, and I'm starting to shake and I can't control not shaking anymore. I'm like, this is going to be bad. So they went away, and then after that, I finished up because I knew my sister would have killed me if I didn't finish it. Number one. So she's all screaming, "Let's go, boys!" You know how she is, Trina. She's getting crazy over there, and so we finished, but it was all worth it. It was all worth it for Lost Limbs. Yeah, I mean, that's the cool thing about competing.
Like I tell people, because we had the hydration backpack, and we had your pre-workout mix and everything, and some amino acids and stuff mixed in, but the hose didn't work. Like nothing was coming out of it. And I'm telling everybody, it's like, man, I did that on like 4 little shot glasses of water and 1 of pickle juice. And then I just now realized, well, Nick did the whole thing on little shot glasses of water and some pickle juice. So, props to you, Nick. It was horrible.
Is there a significance with the pickle juice, or is that just a choice?
It's salt,
I think it has some.
Yeah, it's salt. Yeah.
Okay.
Like when you're hungover, you're supposed to maybe drink some pickle juice to help hydrate. I like pickles, so I eat them every day.
That's a win-win.
Was that the secret in college? Pickle juice after
I
crazy night of partying?
Pickle juice until later when I realize I'm getting older and it takes a week to recover from a night out.
Yeah. Well, how do you do that though? You go like college was amazing. So A of U, right? Arizona, University of Arizona, and you and my sister Diana, you were living in the same house at one point, I think is what you said.
For the most part, yeah. Together.
My sister would tell me, "Oh yeah, we throw the parties and everything like that, and it would be crazy parties all night, whatever." And they go to swimming and compete. Yeah. It's like, how do you do that?
Well, I turned 21 in college, so. The night before, I chose to do the power hour, and my coach said to me, "You better be at swim practice tomorrow morning." And I was like, okay. I slept in my bathing suit. I probably went to bed and got 1 hour of sleep. I showed up. I stunk. I swam maybe for 5 minutes. I couldn't even swim in a straight line. He's like, "Get out. Thanks for coming. You're an embarrassment." So I did it.
But that's what it's about when you're a competitor. Doesn't matter what's happening. It is mind over body.
Yeah.
Mind over body. I love it. Did you end up getting sick?
Oh yeah, the whole day was. Pickle juice could have come in handy had I known. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are the good old days. I miss those days where you think you're invincible, and then you're drinking and doing whatever, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh. Never doing that one again. Never doing that again.
But I think
that was last night for me.
Yeah.
Oh jeez.
Johnny lives in Iowa near the cornfield, so you got that moonshine.
That's all you can do is like farm and drink. That's like it. It's the only things to do around here. But Nick, you brought up a good point about like the mental game of everything, right? And I wanted to ask you, Trina, about that, like specifically what it's like to have basically the weight of the world. All eyes are literally on you.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that. It's in the back of your head, but you also have your coach chirping over here. You might have your parents chirping over here. I mean, explain that. Like, how do you deal with that?
Well, you kind of deal with a lot of that leading up to, let's just take the Olympics, for example, I took 9th grade is when I started with my coach, and I went to the Olympics basically when I should have been a freshman. So I was with him almost, 5 years. Yeah. So he knew everything. He knew when I was shutting down. He knew when I was trying. He knew when I wasn't trying. So really, by the time you get to the Olympics, it's holding on for dear life. And honestly, when you climb up on the blocks and you dive in, all those people are screaming for you, and you're excited that they're there. But you're so focused on what you're doing to make sure you don't miss a turn, and you don't breathe too many times, or you don't forget to breathe, or you're just focused on what you're doing at that moment. And then when you touch and it's all done, I remember crying after every race, because it was just like I was so pent up with everything I needed to get done, and then I was like, oh, I can relax. So I did cry a lot, but it wasn't like sad tears. It was just exhaustion.
In relief, yeah, absolutely.
From trying so hard, yeah.
Well, like you said, though, it's so intricate. Every little thing that you have to remember. I mean, it's timed. Everything is timed. And everything, like you said, even your breath is very, very calculated. Everything is.
I mean, some kids count strokes now from the minute they dive in to when they turn, especially like if someone's doing backstroke, which you're on your back and you can't see the wall behind you. That was not my stroke. But, you know, like my kids swim now and we're teaching them, okay, once you see these flags, count or else you're going to knock your head out. And you know, we've had some interesting situations watching our kids swim now. But the point is there's so many more things that people do now. I mean, they had cameras back then underwater, so you could see what you look like underwater and you could see what your stroke looks like and if you're pulling any air and yada, yada. But now it's so much more than that.
Now it's just all sensors. Everyone is wired with sensors, and it's just computer animated in so they can see exactly how you're moving probably.
It's
insane with technology.
Yeah, it's nuts.
And did you have like tricks that you had to be able to have that laser focus, because the stakes are so high, you know, and I know that, I mean, we know this from being on set or working, and you know, the stakes are high. Like, what were there tricks that you had to sort of like laser in and focus?
I listened to a lot of music. Can't remember all of it now, but like all that good 90s music.
Yes.
Like Smashing Pumpkins and stuff.
Nice.
And I would just kind of, or have the yellow Walkman. Remember that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love Walkman.
Yes. So that was tapes, but then there was the CD players that, you know, kind of had to make sure they weren't scratched. But I did listen to a lot of music, and to be honest, now I still find myself listening to music if I need to like focus on something. And oddly enough, it turned into me being a spin instructor, and I now teach with music as a fitness job. So it's kind of funny how it all transformed. But going back to asking if there's a trick, it's just what someone's capable of doing in their mind. It's just like when you go on set, whatever it is, you're laughing and joking, and then it's like, nope, it's time. You flip the switch. It's a switch. I don't know what that switch is, and not everybody has it. My daughter has the switch. My son does not. He kind of
switch doesn't go off.
No, I legitimately have to remind him, hey, Max, this is a race. Okay. And then my daughter's like, oh, I'm going to win. And then she's got the switch. He doesn't. It's a little bit of the competitiveness, I guess. And that kind of rolls into everything. Wow. You know, even if we're on a treadmill together, all five of us, I don't like the treadmill, but we're racing. It's always a race with me, you know.
So your family's very competitive then, all the way down to the kids.
Yes, my husband is more competitive in things I'm not competitive. Like if it comes to like Monopoly or, you know, I don't care. I don't care if you have the Magic Railroad or whatever it is. He gets really upset. Like charades, he's like, "What the hell was that?" Well, I don't know. I mean, it's not my jam.
Just flip the board.
Yeah. Flip the board and drag him to the swimming pool and race him.
Yep.
That's awesome. I hate Monopoly. I hate playing it with my sister. She would destroy me at it. Put me in jail every time. And then she'd get mad when I take all the money, and she'd be like, forget this, I'm not playing. I'd be like, all right.
We used to do, before we had kids, our group of friends did the couples Olympics, and every couple was a different country. And we played games, and I just didn't care. I was there to have beer. I wasn't there to like win the game. That I knew at that point, like I'm not winning an Olympic medal, you know. So when Flippy Cup comes, I'm terrible, just terrible. I just drink the whole time. Forget it. And he gets mad. My husband's like, "Why didn't you try? What am I winning? More beer. I'm gonna drink."
I'm still gonna drink. Yeah,
that's genius. That's absolutely genius. No, I love it. Yeah. It's crazy because this year coming up, Summer Olympics is actually happening coming up. So this is a great time we're talking to you now. Do you get a lot of people coming to you wanting to talk to you and stuff?
I'm always popular every 4 years. Yeah.
All right. So we got you first. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm kind of out of the spotlight. I don't really do a whole lot with swimming other than take my kids to swim meets and some practices and stuff like that. I did a little bit of coaching for a while, and it just wasn't, I'm too intense, so it wasn't for me. I might have sweared at a kid, and that's
Awesome.
Now I just do it to my own kids.
Please come teach my kids.
I recognize that it takes a lot to be a coach. So, no, I get a lot of mail from maybe it gets sent to the Olympic Training Center, and then they send it to me, and it's just autographs and whatnot. It's definitely a lot lighter than it used to be. I'm not the most recent. I wasn't even in the 2000s of Olympics. So like people like the 90s, like now the kids hadn't even been born yet kind of situation.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, it's okay.
At what point?
Growing up.
At what point did the Olympics become a reality when you're just swimming and practicing? And what was that moment where everybody was like, we might have something here?
And I explain this to my kids too. They haven't quite realized like how cool I think I could be to them. But like 12 is pretty much when everyone was like, oh, okay. So I went to a regular swim meet. I was in Florida at this time, and I just wanted to make what they called zones. And what zones was a couple states all together. And my friends were going, and I probably liked a boy or something, I don't know. And when I dove in for my race, or when I finished my race, I had made junior nationals, which you now skip zones because you went too fast. And then at night, I made senior nationals, which then, because I made seniors, I couldn't swim at juniors. Does this all make sense? Am I confusing anything?
No, so far you're good, yeah.
So at 12, I was already, swimming at the highest level. And then there wasn't an Olympic year that year. So when I was 14, I believe, is 92, I went to Olympic trials and I was 9th, which you have to be first or second. Yeah.
How many hours a day would you work out swimming? And it wasn't just swimming, right? It was everything, like fitness.
Well, in high school, I did when I was like 10, 12, they put me with a little bit of weights, but I mean at 10, and in the 80s. It's kind of like.
They were drowning me in the 80s. They would be like, here, hold these weights. Whoa. Like, hold your breath.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of like stationary machines, nothing like they would probably have a 10-year-old or, if someone's up and coming now, but a lot of stretch bands, rowing kind of stuff, ab work. But I would swim 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours at night. And then once I got to high school, it 2 hours in the morning, 3 hours at night, 4 hours on a Saturday. But college, when I was in college, they kind of mandate that through the NC2A rules that can't, do that much. But we still ran, we still lifted weights and, the normal stuff, the abs and whatnot.
And drank beer. That's right.
And drank beer.
The good old days.
Diane and I like Zima.
Zima, I know. I've heard.
It's come back around, so we're pretty excited about that.
I got to know if this is an Iowa thing or everywhere. Would you put Jolly Ranchers?
Yep.
Yes.
And because Diana and I liked hot tamales, we'd put hot tamales in there.
Oh man,
that's thinking outside the box.
Cinnamon liquor. Not cinnamon schnapps, because that will just mess you up and you can't live the next day. But cinnamon candies in a Zima is pretty good.
Yeah.
I was always wondering when I came to visit her why those boxes were laying around. The candy boxes.
She would live on those things. That was dinner sometimes. They're so good. They make you sweat. It's probably like a thermogenic, like it was a fat burner.
It's a thermo, yeah.
That's crazy.
Fat.
Oh, man. I want to see. Yeah, so the next challenge, like we were talking about, we're going to be swimming across a lake. I don't know, like 2 miles or something. Jeez. So I got Diana back into swimming again. So she's practicing because I want her to swim it with me, with Mike Couch rowing beside us.
Right.
So you got to come out. if you want to do it, you're more than welcome. You got to come out and swim with us.
As long as there's no waves, right? It's on a lake.
No, it's just on a lake. Yeah.
Okay. Because I did a swim with my sister from pier to pier from Hermosa to Manhattan Beach, and there was a shark below me, and that was just about enough to,
Wow.
Yeah.
Done.
Well, it started like that. I was like, Diana, let's swim from Alcatraz to the bay there. And she's like, I am not swimming in cold water. I swim in cold water all my life. And I was like, what? That's it? She's like, there's sharks there. I live there. I don't want to swim in that. So we're picking a nice warm lake in New England.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's the number one thing swimmers hate is getting in the pool.
Oh, I know.
Water.
That's why I quit at 13. I hated swimming in the cold water. They would drag me in. Like the coach would drag me in. And I was this little 9-year-old crying because I didn't want to get in the water. He'd be like, get in the water. I had the fastest 50 free in United States from, I think it was like 8 to almost 13, somewhere around there.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then they were really mad when I quit.
Yeah. All because you didn't want to get in cold water. That's a sprinter thing right there. Those sprinters. You guys needed a hot tub.
Yes, I love the hot tub.
Yeah.
So Johnny Hauser, Chad, and I were bringing Speedos back, know.
Like the little ones? Or?
Yeah, the little Speedos that, like I used to wear.
Sure. As long as they say G Crew on them.
It's got to say G Crew on it.
We actually have that on merchandise right now, the G Crew Speedos.
You might get a new name if you wear them.
Yeah. Most
like
likely.
The B Crew or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, the B Crew. That's funny. Yeah.
It'll be the Lil D Crew.
Water's really cold.
Yeah.
So what are you doing now? What are you doing today? You're a fitness trainer?
I teach spin classes, and then I work also for an active wear wholesale company just on the side. Yeah.
Nice.
Because I need clothes to wear to
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense to me. So where can people find you and stuff like that out there in Arizona, like a fitness class, or what are you doing now?
I'm at a gym called EOS Fitness. It's just a local gym. I think actually there's some in California and Vegas. It's EOS, but it's pronounced EOS. I think it means new beginnings or something in Greek, or I don't know, these fancy gyms. But so I just teach spin classes, and I play music, and I figure out how I can possibly hurt people, but in a good way, and motivate them all at the same time. And I'm only doing that 3 times a week. And then other than that, I just work out on my own. With my kids swimming, and just the world that we live in, I feel like if I didn't, show my kids that it's important to exercise, that, they would be on video games, and they are already, at that age where they've got a phone. Well, my 10-year-old has a phone. My just 9-year-old wants one, and it's a lot, it's a lot to kind of maneuver through life with now kids that have things that we didn't have. Like we had dial-up, right? Yeah. AOL.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't even have a phone till I was 21. So, yeah.
I hear you.
Showing them what we can do as these old people that we are.
We're some of the last. We're some of the last, though. I mean, right? I mean, we're all kind of like, at least we knew what it was like to not have social media. I think it was a blessing, because there'd be some stuff on there that,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it would be bad. I remember when I talked the guy in at the mall to allow me at under 18 to buy a pager. Remember when pagers were in?
Oh, buddy.
Well,
I had a pager.
Yeah. They gave us pagers at the Olympics so we could talk to our loved ones, but it was like it was almost like a text. It was the strangest thing.
Yeah, I remember, if something was wrong, just page 911.
Right.
It was one of those things. Wow. I remember that. And then my dad dragged me back to the mall and told the guy, like, take this back and erase it all because I was underage, and the bill came in. It was like $400 for the month.
What?
But I can see you being like
my girlfriends back then in like middle school were paging me.
Yeah, you were already groffing back then. Like you were already trying to figure it out. Like I can see you being like, "Yo, I need a pager. I need it right now.
I need it right now." Oh my God, man.
The internet. That thing's still around.
It's so great. It's so great.
That was the 90s.
Yeah. And then I remember those phones in the middle of the car. Remember those?
Car phones, yeah.
Car
like,
phone.
Yeah, remember those cars, Saabs? Remember Saabs? They were. So my sister would drive a Saab around. It was like a passed down generation car from my parents, and the whole roof was ripped off. Like the installation was just there, and all her friends carved their names into the rooftop of the
that's
car.
awesome.
And it had this old like block cell phone like hardwired into the car. It didn't work, but it was cool. It's like Miami Vice, you know?
Yeah.
Those were the days, man.
I know.
90s and 80s. What was you said Smashing Pumpkins. What was your go-to, like the genre that you liked? Did you like hip hop, rock, heavy metal?
You know, now I like a mixture of pop and dance and remixes just because of what I do and teach and whatnot. But I still like alternative. But you know, that stuff wasn't around back then. You know, I mean, I did like, I guess it would have been called alternative rock back then. Way back then.
Yeah.
No Shy or Boys to Men right before you just jumped in that water.
No. I think I was trying to think what my first CD was, but I want to Vanilla Ice.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
Yeah. My first tape I ever got. You're gonna laugh at this one. This is why I got into hip hop and rap. All right. I turned 10 years old, 1990. My sister takes me up to my room, closes the door, and says, "Do not tell your parents I got you this." She hands me this tape. I unwrap it. I'm looking at it, and it's Compton's Most Wanted.
Yes.
Remember those dudes? You know what I'm saying, Johnny, right?
Oh,
Compton's
yes.
Most Wanted. It was called Music to Drive By too. It was like crazy. She hands me this tape. It was just straight
she
gangster
loved
rap.
Beastie Boys and
I know.
Yeah.
She got me into it. So I forever have been hip hop and rap because of her.
Yeah.
She's the one. Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love the 80s and 90s. Good times. I mean, the competitiveness, the team, just everything about it, you know. Everybody was all in back then when you were in some sport or family oriented or rolling as a group together. It was just, that's what it was about.
Yeah.
I miss it. I loved it.
Well, now, like in swimming, it's all about the suit. And some of these kids who, I mean, it's like $500 suits.
Wow.
That only can be, they can only be worn eight-ish times, and then they rip because the fabric is so thin. But I mean, the Olympian, once you hit a certain level, these kids are getting them for free.
Yeah.
So they banned anyone under the age of 12 starting in September, at least in Arizona. You can't have these what they call tech suits, which are the $400 or $500 suits, because it doesn't. You have to be like a adult body, otherwise these suits don't mean anything. And some of these kids, you know, that's why I never understood like dance and gymnastics. I mean, I did that stuff, but their outfits cost a lot of money just to go on stage for 10 minutes, you know.
It's crazy. It's really crazy. Yeah, I just remember, you know, Speedos, your goggles, and, you know, you just shave your whole body. That's it.
I shaved the back of my head. I mean, I didn't shave my legs. I used to dye my leg hair so it wasn't so gross to get a date, you know, or wear pants or pantyhose. We had to swim with I mean, the whole list goes on. We swam with shorts. We swam with shoes. We swam with pantyhose after we shaved our legs, because God forbid we look normal for a second. Swimming's a really, cyclists shave their legs for their, you know, but a man not having shaved legs is not a big deal. But when you see a swimmer who doesn't have shaved legs and you don't know they're a swimmer, it's there's a lot of good looks that happen. Judging.
Yeah, setting the trend back
Lots
then.
of questions.
Absolutely. What about nutrition and stuff? Back then, was there a sort of like nutrition you would follow, or was it just a kind of free for all?
I just kind of went with whatever my parents made me, which was always pretty much balanced. Maybe a few more things out of a box, because in the 90s they came out with freaking everything in a box, a salad in a box, potatoes in a box. You know, pretty much eat whatever I wanted. And then in college, you just hope for the best, because then you're adding alcohol and eating whatever you want. So I did struggle a little bit freshman year. And then you just kind of try to figure it out. And then after college, you know, you have that time where you're not athletic all the time. And I learned a lot about nutrition and how much less you should probably eat because you're not exercising as much. And so, you know, now as a mom and stuff, I'm more on the low carb, as opposed to when I was an athlete in my glory days. I was high carb, and I'm reading more and more that athletes can now function in the low carb, you know, more protein and more fat to kind of fuel the body. But it's all, everyone's different.
Yeah, I mean, that's the interesting part. Everybody's different. I mean, but from a young age, you were a competitor. You were born into it. You were an athlete right from get-go, right from 3 years old. Some people have it. Some people work harder at it, and some people, you know, just doesn't happen. But I think for you at an early age, you were that.
It's kind of the luck of the draw. I mean, it's up to the parents to figure out, okay, what's my kid good at? You know, I already know my kid is good at swimming, but he has there's a bug that just flew by, sorry. He has absolutely no drive to like win. My daughter has the drive. She will cut somebody and cheat to win. We're working on it. But you know, it's up to the parents too to kind of guide these kids into, okay, well, they like group sports. Well, swimming's not necessarily like, you're not on a team where you're doing baseball and football and soccer. And we chose not to do that for our child, especially with Max, is because he wasn't good on land, which is me. I can ride a bike because I'm clipped in. I can't fall off of it. And swimming. Other than that, I don't run. I lift heavy weights and do some cardio, like jump rope and stuff, and workout classes. But generally, people who are swimmers are not all that great on land.
So it's kind of like Jack Sparrow in a way, because Jack Sparrow, he gets on land and he's all like wobbly and stuff like this. And then he gets on the boat and he's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Same concept.
I think he's actually drunk half the time.
Yeah,
so when he gets on the boat,
too,
he's balanced. He's balanced off. His equilibrium.
His sea legs are, his sea legs.
Oh, man.
That's how us swimmers used to be. You know, we get in the water, we're balanced off because our equilibrium's set back in place. Yeah. I mean, those were the days. I mean, Trina, it's amazing. It's amazing what you've accomplished in your lifetime. And, you know, people can look back and know that, you know, at 96 and so on, you were gold medalists in the Olympics. Like, who can wake up every day and say, yeah, check out my gold medal from the Olympics. That's amazing.
I should. I'd say that and wear it every day. I just don't.
Yeah, please just wear it around.
Just wear it to one spin class, just once, just to see what the reaction is.
Maybe like this summer I'll wear it because, you know, like people are like, oh wow, you know. And I'll wear a shirt that has the rings. I have a tattoo, so people ask about
that's cool.
that.
Yeah,
nice.
That's
nice.
Awesome. What
tattoo? From the Olympics or?
I have the Olympic rings on my ankle.
That's awesome. That's
Super
really cool.
Did you get it right after that, or when did you get them?
I got swimming when I was in the trials. Swimming trials were in March. And then the Olympics aren't until July. Now it's close together. So I actually got my Olympic rings after I made the team. Some people got their rings in Atlanta after we were done swimming.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. That's badass. That's awesome.
Because that's what you do after you
Of course.
Heck yeah.
hang out and get tattoos.
Yeah.
That's great.
Chad just got his G tattoo for G Crew.
It's a work in progress. My whole back.
The whole back.
Johnny's getting his forehead to be like the kids these days. Right, Johnny?
Little teardrops of G's all the way down.
Yeah, or you can do like Post Malone does it. Just have like G Crew, you know, just like under
that
your
had
eyes.
to hurt.
It's got to. It's got to.
You have no fat there.
Oh.
I just talked to our buddy Rick Schreck, who's been tattooing for 30 plus years, whatever he's been doing there, and down in New Jersey. And he told me the other day he was tattooing a guy's neck. He's a huge, tough bodybuilder. And he's like, yeah, man, I'm tattooing his neck. The guy could not take the pain.
No.
He just couldn't take it. It doesn't matter how tough he is. He just couldn't mentally take the pain. So he has to order some numbing cream, to like extra strength numbing cream. But everyone's different. You know, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Going back to anything, every single person mentally, physically is different. Doesn't matter how much you work at it. I think some people just got it and some people kind of don't, you know?
You got to find what makes you happy. You know, I always tell my spin class, like, I had an incident a few weeks ago where a member was just being rude and saying, you know, to another member, oh, all these people are just so unfit. And so I actually asked her to leave class, and I had a conversation with my whole class, and I was like, listen, we're not in middle school. Like, we don't talk like that. And if you feel like you're not welcomed by another member, you know, like, we all have to exist in this world, and what works for you doesn't necessarily work for someone else. And if you think you're better than someone else, then, you know, there's the door. But
There's the door.
I always tell them to be you, do you, for you, because you're no good to anyone else if you don't love yourself.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Absolutely right. I mean, and that's kind of what we're doing here on our podcast with the G Crew. We're bringing everybody together because we were talking about this the other day with John Tenney. It's like sometimes you just got to stop what you're doing. At the end of the day, we're all human beings. You know, you never know when it's your time to go, but we're born into this world and we leave this world out of this body. And that energy, the conscious thought, the ripple effect, everything that we do in the middle part is going to reflect on, you know, to our kids, the next generation. It doesn't matter as long as you're leaving a positive impact in that way. There's no need for negativity. I mean, I don't understand why we can't all get along sometimes, you know? That's the problem.
Some people just need to, like, look up sometimes and realize they're not the only people in this world, you know? Like, look at the stars or the moon, you know?
It's so true. It's so true.
One planet,
And it's so easy to pick on each other now, you know, with social media. It's like people are savages. Savages, man, you know. And I agree. I think because it's hard being human. You know, I think so. Yeah, no, it's awesome that we're all here and coming and sharing your stories.
Thank you so much, Trina. I really appreciate it, and I'm so happy we got to talk. It's been ages since we've talked. I think
like yesterday.
I know it feels like yesterday. I know we just picked up from where we left off when I was that young kid stopping by college there, saying hi to my sister.
Partying it up.
Partying up, and I wasn't allowed to go. I was really mad about that.
You know.
I'll have to bring my sister on one time.
I'm sure you took a Zima, you know. Hot tamale in it.
Oh, I'll talk about the story one time when we can talk about when she bought me my first fake license back in Arizona. That was a good time.
That'll be a good story.
Good days. Yep, 90s, 80s. Great generation, great music, great competitiveness, sports, schools. Everything was fun. I got to run free in the woods. Trina, thank you so much. Olympics are coming up. It's going to be interesting to see what happens this year with the Summer Olympics and see who is going to win it. I mean, really quick, who do you think right now? Have you been following it? Do you know?
I'm rooting for Ryan Lochte.
Yeah? All right. All right, Ryan, you heard it.
Back. I think he knows he screwed up.
Yeah.
He's got a family now. He's got 2 kids. He's kind of like the dark horse you just don't know. He got banned for doing a shot of vitamins. I mean, God forbid. I mean, you know, some get caught for smoking a bong, but let's get in trouble for shooting up vitamins. But I mean, I understand there's different things now. Again, we didn't have social media, so if I did an IV of vitamins, nobody knew about it. I didn't post it on Instagram and do a story about it, you know. So you know, and he's got a lot on his shoulders. I think he wants to come back. So for the girls, I mean, it's all over the place. Missy Franklin retired, so she's gone. So there's some up and comers, and then we have a couple of Olympians that train here with Michael Phelps's old coach. So we'll have to see. I mean, the trials are soon. they'll be here before you know it. And then all of a sudden you see people that you didn't even know. Somebody touches the wall and you're like, well, I don't even know who that is. And they made the Olympic team. That's how, because it's every 4 years, you know, it's whoever gets their hand on the wall for a second and you go from there. Absolutely.
And what's going to be interesting is when they come out of the water and it's a beard and his name is Johnny Hauser.
That's what's up.
What? Johnny Hauser finishing in his Speedo. Your rainbow Speedo.
Yeah.
I wonder if the beard.
I'll tell you who will not be. What?
I wonder if
no, never.
No.
Never.
That'll slow you down. I mean, that's definitely gotta.
Yeah, we gotta shave that, Johnny.
Go.
We'll shave that on the podcast. All of it. Shave your whole body.
That sounds like one of those challenges right there.
Yeah, it's a challenge. Yep.
The G Crew screw right there, boys.
Trina, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. Best of luck with everything. And if I come to Arizona, we got to hang out. My sister's been telling me we got to do a Spartan race there or something crazy. So
yeah,
you
we
never
have
know.
them here. My gym, they train for it. I haven't quite dabbled in it yet. One of the head trainers is like a trainer for the Spartan company.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know about mud and.
I don't like the mud. Well, either that or we'll just bring you out to New England and you can come swim a lake with us where it's warm and cozy and there's a fire and we can.
I'll row and
Can you yell at Diana for me? Yell at Diana or just hold her feet so I can get ahead. I don't know what her problem is. She's so competitive. She's like, I'm going to beat you. I'm training hard 2 hours a day. I'm like, yo, we're not racing each other.
You are. You are.
We're swimming a lake together.
No, you're
racing. Yeah. It's just, it's there. She flipped the switch.
I know. It's on. So, all right.
The switch.
I remember in the car ride to the airport, she's like, I'm not even going to really train for this. I don't need to. I'm still going to beat you. Like she was just that confident about it.
That's the swimmer mentality right there, my friends. All right, Trina. Well, have a great night. Best of luck and thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Trina. Thank you.
Trina, take care.
Bye.
Bye.
See you.
Bye.
All right, guys, that was pretty amazing.
Guys.
I was so excited to talk to her. Really was amazing to talk to her. It's been such a long time. Just knowing my sister swam with her, she's just like really a humbled person. When you hear about these competitors that win Olympics, get gold medals, you really don't know how their personalities are. But then when you meet them, you know, you're like, wow, she's so cool. I want to hang out with her. Let's go grab a beer. Let's go just chill. Let's go swim a lake, whatever. It's just so cool when you meet just down to earth people like that are just absolutely amazing athletes, individuals, and what they've accomplished in their lifetime is incredible.
Absolutely. I mean, that was probably one of my favorite interviews we've done so far. I know nothing about Olympic swimming.
Exactly.
But she's so cool and so much fun, and she did something that is unreal. That how many humans can say they've won a gold medal in the Olympics? I mean, unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Love it. She was really, really cool.
Josh, I love your voice when it comes through. You love it.
Love it. I love it.
But it's it's true because we're like we're goofballs and we run into places, we do our thing, but like we have no idea what it's like to train to be in the Olympics. You know what I mean? And then win. You know what I'm saying? It's pretty amazing. It's awesome.
Yeah, it was just really cool to get insight, be enlightened on the competitiveness about what she would have to do. But it's also about balancing your life, being a kid, living, having fun, going to parties, just living life. because that's the thing is sometimes you're just so stuck in just swim. And you're just like, you go crazy. You need that outlet. You need to have fun.
But I love how like parties was just as important as like the going to party.
It was
gotta go to party.
Equally important. It balances you off as a human being. It's not for everybody. Kids, people that you're listening, anyone under 21, No, it's not for you. But it's definitely something to let loose. You got to. You're all, you know, you're tense. You're all just pumped up. You're swimming for 2 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours a day. What do you gotta like?
You gotta blow off that steam. You gotta
do it.
You
gotta
know
do
what I
it.
mean? You need your candies. What were they saying that they ate? You need your Jolly
Tamales.
Jolly Ranchers.
The hot tamales. The hot tamales.
tamales,
tamales,
and
yeah.
your booze.
Hey, you know, I do love sugar, but that's a whole different episode,
Man,
guys.
it's been awesome.
Yeah.
You know, you never know who we're going to interview and what we're going to learn about somebody and their life that they've gone through. But again, it's about bringing everybody together, the communication, learning something new, evolving, coming together as human beings, and just taking that information. And now it makes me, after talking to Trina, it makes me want to go get in the swimming pool and start competing and swimming again. So, guys, it's been a pleasure, but
yeah,
I am going out for the Summer Olympics this year.
Attaboy.
Just saying. Do you think they'll still take 39-year-olds or?
It'll be fine.
Yeah.
And boys, that inspired me to go celebrate and let off some steam after this. So
yes.
I'm going to train for the Summer Beer Olympics.
I love it.
The Stein holding contest?
Yes.
Nice, man. All right, fellas. Well, it's been great. And again, you know, you never know what's going to happen, where the journey is going to take us, who we're going to speak to, but athletes, musicians, producers, TV personalities, film, you just don't know. Whatever, an ordinary job, somebody going to work at Starbucks, doesn't really make a difference. Someone has an interesting story, write us on our G Crew social media, talk to us, write us on Patreon right there, just tell us a story. You never know, we might bring you on. Good night, everybody. When you wake up tomorrow, swimming starts at 6 a.m.
4:45. 4:45. Fuck that.
4:45 for you.
Yeah.
4:45 for you. Let's get a head start. All right, guys. Ciao.
Cheese out.